Survival's edge. The wind howled across the barren plains of Epsilon Crucis, 9, a sound as familiar to Dr. Elena Rodriguez as her own heartbeat. She stood at the reinforced window of the central research hub, her eyes scanning the rust-colored landscape that stretched endlessly beyond the transparent polymer shield. This world was nothing like Earth, a planet now only a distant memory in the collective consciousness of humanity's survivors. Epsilon Crucis, 9 was a harsh mistress. Toxic atmosphere, unpredictable radiation storms, and temperatures that oscillated between freezing and scorching made survival a daily challenge. Yet here they were, 3,000 souls, the remnants of a colonial expedition abandoned decades ago by the Galactic Concordance. The colony had been established as an experiment in human resilience, a remote outpost meant to test the limits of human adaptation. What the Concordance hadn't anticipated was the absolute determination of those they'd left behind. Elena turned from the window, her environmental suit humming softly with integrated life support systems. The research hub was a marvel of improvised engineering, every piece of equipment modified, repurposed, and enhanced beyond its original design. Waste was a luxury they couldn't afford, and innovation was their most precious resource. Dr. Rodriguez, a voice called from the communication console. It was Marcus Chen, the colony's chief systems engineer. "We've got something you need to see." Elena moved quickly, her movements precise and calculated. Years of living on the razor's edge of survival had made every colonist a master of efficiency. The communication screen flickered to life, displaying a complex data stream that made her breath catch. "Is that what I think it is?" she asked, her voice a mix of excitement and caution. Marcus nodded, a rare smile breaking through his typically stoic expression. "The quantum resonance pattern we've been tracking. It's consistent across multiple sectors. This isn't just background radiation, it's a signal." The implications were massive. For years, the colony had been cut off, considered little more than a footnote in the Concordance's vast galactic records. They were viewed as a failed experiment, a group of humans left to die on a hostile world. But they had done more than survive, they had adapted, innovated, and now, potentially, discovered something that could change everything. Outside, another radiation storm began to build. The colony's protective dome shimmered with energy, a testament to years of scientific improvisation. Solar panels integrated with crystalline radiation dispersal technology collected energy even as the storm raged, turning a potential threat into a source of power. Dr. Arya Nakamura, the colony's lead xenobiologist, joined them. Her augmented eyes, a combination of biological engineering and advanced optical implants, scanned the data with superhuman speed. "This signal," she said, her voice low, "it's not natural. And it's not from the Concordance." The room fell silent. In their isolation, they had learned that silence often held more information than words. Each of them understood what this could mean, a potential communication from something beyond their known universe, or perhaps a message from something much closer to home. Marcus began running a series of complex decryption protocols. The colony's computer systems were a patchwork of salvaged technology, rebuilt and reimagined countless times. Where other societies might see limitations, these humans saw opportunities. "We're picking up additional resonance patterns," Marcus reported. His fingers danced across holographic interfaces, each movement precise and purposeful. "The signal appears to be adaptive. It's responding to our attempt to decode it." Elena felt a familiar surge of adrenaline. This was why they had survived, this moment of discovery, of pushing beyond known boundaries. The Concordance had written them off, left them to die on this unforgiving world. But humanity's spirit was not so easily extinguished. "Prepare full-spectrum analysis," she instructed. "And route all non-essential power to the research channels. Whatever this is, we're going to understand it." As the radiation storm reached its peak outside, the colony's systems hummed with anticipation. They were no longer just survivors. They were becoming something more, explorers, innovators, the vanguard of a humanity that refused to be forgotten. Little did they know, their discovery would soon echo across the galaxy, sending tremors through the very foundations of the galactic concordance. The quantum horizon. 3 weeks had passed since the initial signal discovery, and the colony of Epsilon Crucis, 9 had transformed into a hive of relentless scientific pursuit. What had begun as a mysterious resonance pattern had evolved into something far more profound, a technological breakthrough that would challenge everything humanity understood about communication and physics. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood in the colony's central research complex, surrounded by holographic displays that danced with complex mathematical equations and quantum wave patterns. The air crackled with an electric sense of anticipation, a feeling that they stood on the precipice of something monumental. "The signal is definitely artificial," Dr. Arya Nakamura announced, her augmented eyes reflecting streams of data. "But it's not like any communication protocol we've ever encountered. It's adaptive. Responsive." Marcus Chen, the systems engineer, had barely slept in weeks. His workstation was a controlled chaos of modified quantum processors and custom-built communication arrays. "It's more than a message," he said, his voice hoarse from exhaustion and excitement. "It's almost like a living system of information." The quantum signal they had discovered defied conventional understanding. It didn't just carry information, it seemed to learn, to adjust, to communicate in a way that blurred the lines between communication and consciousness. Elena walked to a large holographic display that showed the signal's complex wave patterns. Each time they attempted to decode it, the signal would shift, presenting new layers of complexity. It was as if the communication itself was a form of intelligence, constantly evolving in response to their probing. "We need to think differently," she said, her mind racing. The colony had survived by reimagining limitations, by seeing potential where others saw only obstacles. This quantum signal demanded the same approach. Arya brought up a series of comparative analyses. "Look at these harmonic resonances," she pointed out. "They match no known communication spectrum. But there's a pattern, a deliberate, intricate pattern." The implications were staggering. If this signal was what they suspected, a form of intelligent communication from beyond their known technological understanding, it could revolutionize humanity's comprehension of communication, intelligence, and perhaps even the nature of consciousness itself. Outside the research complex, Epsilon Crucis, 9 continued its harsh existence. Radiation storms periodically swept across the landscape, their energy captured and converted by the colony's ingenious infrastructure. Solar panels with metamaterial coatings absorbed and redistributed energy, while quantum-entangled cooling systems maintained optimal temperatures for their sensitive equipment. Marcus suddenly straightened, his augmented neural interface flickering with intense activity. "I've got something," he said, his voice a mixture of wonder and disbelief. "The signal, it's responding to our specific quantum frequency. Not just responding, but initiating a dialogue." The room fell silent. Dialogues implied intelligence, and intelligence suggested something far more complex than a simple message. "Prepare full quantum resonance protocol," Elena instructed. Years of survival had taught them caution, but also the value of bold action. "We're going to attempt a controlled quantum communication." The colony's entire energy grid began to reconfigure. Non-essential systems were temporarily shut down, redirecting power to the quantum communication array. It was a risky move. On a world where survival depended on precise energy management, such a redirection could compromise their life support systems. But this was more than a scientific experiment. This was a moment of potential first contact, a chance to prove that humanity was more than just survivors, they were pioneers, explorers of the unknown. As the quantum array began its complex initialization sequence, the holographic displays erupted in a symphony of light and mathematical patterns. The signal was no longer just a message, it was becoming something else. Something alive. "Quantum entanglement stabilizing," Marcus reported, his voice steady despite the magnitude of what they were attempting. "Resonance frequencies matching, now. For a moment, everything seemed to pause. The harsh winds outside, the humming of the complex's systems, even the breath of the researchers, all seemed to hold still. Then, unexpectedly, the quantum display began to change. No longer a random collection of waves and frequencies, it started to form something recognizable. Something that looked suspiciously like a message. Humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to adapt, to look beyond the immediate and imagine the impossible. On this distant, forgotten world, they were about to prove that principle in ways no one could have anticipated. The first contact was about to begin. Convergence of defiance. The quantum signal had changed everything. What began as a scientific curiosity had transformed into something far more significant, a catalyst that would ignite the dormant spirit of resistance within the human colony of Epsilon Crucis, 9. In the weeks following their breakthrough, the colony underwent a radical transformation. The mysterious communication they had intercepted was more than just a message, it was a key that unlocked a deeper understanding of their place in the universe. Commander Kai Martinez stood in the newly established strategy chamber, a room that had been hastily converted from a former hydroponics research area. Gone were the delicate plant cultivation systems, in their place stood holographic displays, communication arrays, and tactical planning interfaces. The walls were lined with modified defense systems, a testament to the colony's ability to repurpose technology at a moment's notice. "We can't ignore what the signal implies," Kai addressed the assembled leadership team. His background as a former military strategist set him apart, even in this isolated colony. This isn't just about scientific discovery anymore. It's about survival. About reclaiming our place. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stood beside him, her quantum research having provided the foundational understanding that was now driving their next steps. "The signal contains more than just information," she explained. "It's a map. A guide to technologies and communication protocols that the Galactic Concordance has been suppressing for generations." The room was filled with the colony's most brilliant minds, scientists, engineers, strategists, each bearing the marks of survival on Epsilon Crucis, 9. They were no longer just colonists. They were becoming something more, a coordinated resistance with knowledge that could challenge the entire galactic power structure. Marcus Chen brought up a holographic display showing intricate network connections. "We've managed to decrypt partial information about the Concordance's communication suppression protocols," he said. "They've been limiting technological development across multiple human colonies. We're not an isolated incident, we're part of a systematic oppression." The revelation hit the room like a shockwave. What they had believed was mere abandonment was actually a calculated effort to keep humanity fragmented and controlled. Arya Nakamura, her augmented eyes scanning multiple data streams simultaneously, highlighted a critical piece of information. "Look at the communication patterns. The Concordance has been using quantum entanglement suppression to prevent advanced technological communication between human settlements. They've intentionally kept us isolated." Kai's military mind was already several steps ahead. "If we can break their communication blockade, we can create a network. A resistance." The plan began to take shape. They would use the quantum signal, their breakthrough, as a method of creating an undetectable communication network. By piggybacking on the mysterious signal's unique properties, they could establish connections with other isolated human colonies without the Concordance's knowledge. "We'll need to be careful," Elena cautioned. "One misstep could alert the Concordance to our activities." The colony's workshop became a hive of activity. Every piece of equipment was modified, every system optimized. They were creating communication devices that could penetrate the Concordance's most advanced jamming technologies, building a network of resistance one quantum encrypted transmission at a time. Outside, the harsh environment of Epsilon Crucis, 9 continued its relentless assault. Radiation storms swept across the landscape, but inside the colony, a different kind of storm was brewing, a storm of human determination and technological innovation. Their first transmission went out carefully, encrypted within the quantum signal they had discovered. A message of hope, of resistance, of unity. To all forgotten colonies. We are not alone. The message carried with it the seed of something revolutionary. The Concordants had believed they could control humanity by keeping them isolated, by suppressing their potential. They were about to learn how wrong they were. Kai looked at his team, seeing not just survivors, but the architects of humanity's resurgence. "We're going to change everything," he said quietly. And for the first time in generations, humanity was about to fight back. The quantum convergence. The quantum network spread like an invisible web across the galaxy, a silent revolution born from the determination of humanity's most isolated and resilient survivors. What had begun on Epsilon Crucis 9 was now a coordinated movement that would shake the foundations of the Galactic Concordance. Aboard the colony's modified stealth vessel, christened the Prometheus, Commander Kai Martinez reviewed the latest intelligence gathered from their expanding network. The ship was a marvel of improvised engineering, its hull composed of metamaterial adaptive camouflage that could bend light and energy signatures, rendering it virtually undetectable to conventional scanning technologies. "Incoming transmission," announced Dr. Elena Rodriguez from the communication station. Her fingers danced across quantum-encrypted interfaces, decoding a message that had traversed multiple star systems through their revolutionary communication network. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a familiar face, Dr. Damien Chen, a researcher from a colony in the Rigel system. His image was slightly distorted, a testament to the complex quantum encryption protecting their communication. "We've identified critical vulnerabilities in the Concordance's primary defense grid," Damien reported, his voice tight with excitement and tension. "Our combined research teams have developed a quantum disruption protocol that can temporarily disable their most advanced communication and defense systems." Kai leaned forward, his strategic mind already mapping out potential scenarios. "Temporary isn't enough. We need a decisive strike that sends a message." Arya Nakamura, her augmented eyes processing multiple data streams simultaneously, brought up a holographic star map. The Concordance's central administrative hub is located in the Orion Nexus. It's heavily fortified, but our quantum network has revealed something interesting. The map zoomed in, revealing intricate layers of defense systems. But Arya's research had uncovered something more, a fundamental weakness in the Concordance's technological infrastructure. "They've become complacent," Elena explained, her voice carrying a mixture of scientific precision and human determination. "Their communication networks are so centralized, so rigidly structured, that they've lost the adaptability that makes our quantum network so powerful." The plan took shape quickly. It was audacious, borderline impossible, which made it perfectly suited to humanity's spirit of innovation. They would launch a coordinated strike using their quantum communication network as both a weapon and a shield. Multiple isolated human colonies would simultaneously activate specially designed quantum disruptors, creating a cascading effect that would temporarily blind and paralyze the Concordance's primary defense and communication systems. Marcus Chen, working from a modified engineering station, brought up the technical specifications. "We've developed quantum entanglement disruptors that can create localized communication black holes. When synchronized across multiple points, they'll create a cascade effect that will completely overwhelm the Concordance's systems." The ship hummed with anticipation. Years of survival, of adaptation, of being forgotten and underestimated, all of it had led to this moment. "Quantum synchronization in 3 minutes, Marcus announced. The Prometheus moved silently through space, its adaptive camouflage making it virtually invisible. Around them, other human vessels, each modified, each a testament to human ingenuity, prepared for the most significant moment in their species' recent history. Kai looked at his team. They were no longer just survivors of a forgotten colony. They were the architects of humanity's resurgence. "All systems," he commanded, "prepare for quantum convergence." The galaxy held its breath. As the countdown began, the quantum network pulsed with an energy that was both terrifyingly precise and beautifully organic. Humanity was about to remind the galactic concordance of a simple, fundamental truth. You can suppress a species, but you cannot extinguish its spirit. The quantum horizon. The quantum strike had been more successful than anyone could have imagined. As the concordance's systems collapsed, a moment of absolute silence swept across the galaxy, a breath between destruction and rebirth. Aboard the Prometheus, Commander Kai Martinez watched as holographic displays showed the cascading effect of their coordinated attack. The Concordance's once impenetrable defense grid flickered and died, revealing vulnerabilities that had been hidden for generations. "We've done it," Dr. Elena Rodriguez whispered, her voice a mixture of awe and disbelief. The quantum network they had discovered on Epsilon Crucis 9 had become the key to humanity's liberation. Arya Nakamura's augmented eyes scanned multiple data streams, tracking the aftermath of their strike. "It's not just a temporary disruption," she reported. "We've exposed fundamental flaws in their technological infrastructure. They're completely vulnerable." Marcus Chen brought up a comprehensive analysis of their quantum communication network. What had begun as a desperate attempt to survive on a hostile planet had transformed into a galaxy-wide revolution. The isolated human colonies, once thought to be forgotten, abandoned outposts, were now a unified force. The Concordance's central administrative hub in the Orion Nexus lay exposed, its defenses stripped away. For the first time in centuries, humanity could see the true extent of the oppression they had endured. "We're not just fighting back," Kai addressed his team, "we're redefining our place in the universe." Unexpected allies began to emerge. Other species, long suppressed by the Concordance's rigid control, started to reach out through the quantum network. The revolution was no longer just a human endeavor, it had become a galactic uprising against systemic oppression. A transmission came through, this time from multiple colonies simultaneously. Researchers, survivors, engineers, each bringing their unique perspective, their individual stories of survival and resistance. Dr. Damien Chen from the Rigel system appeared on the holographic display. "We've analyzed the Concordance's communication archives," he said, his voice trembling with excitement. "They've been suppressing technological development across multiple species. Not just humans, everyone." The revelation was staggering. The Concordance hadn't just targeted humanity, they had been systematically controlling technological advancement across the galaxy, maintaining their power through deliberate technological suppression. As the quantum network continued to expand, something unprecedented began to happen. The network itself seemed to evolve, becoming more than just a communication tool. It was developing a form of collective intelligence, a manifestation of the combined innovative spirit of those who had created it. The quantum signal, Elena realized, it's not just a communication method. It's alive. The Prometheus moved into the heart of the Orion Nexus, its adaptive camouflage and quantum disruption technologies making it virtually invincible. Around them, other human vessels, each a testament to innovation, each modified beyond their original design, formed a growing armada. Kai looked out at the vast expanse of space. The harsh lessons learned on Epsilon Crucis 9, survival, adaptation, unwavering determination, had prepared them for this moment. "We're not conquerors," he transmitted to the emerging alliance, "we're liberators." The quantum network pulsed with energy, a living testament to human potential. They had been forgotten, abandoned, left to die on distant, hostile worlds. But humanity had done more than survive. They had evolved. And now, they would reshape the galaxy. As the first light of a new era began to spread across the star systems, one thing became clear: humanity's true strength had never been in its weapons or its technology, but in its unbreakable spirit of innovation, cooperation, and hope. The revolution had begun.